Hello everyone. I take a moment here to let you all in and settle in, and today it will be more of a talk and some information sharing about flexibility. Hi Juliana. And we won't do any practice today, so that's why I'm not on my mat. I'm just here in front of the camera, and today I will cover what actually flexibility is and why we all want to work into flexibility, and also covering the main health benefits of flexibility, and also I'm covering and hearing your questions, your most challenged body parts you are sharing with me when it comes to flexibility, which is for many of us the hamstrings and also the hips, but mainly also the hamstrings. And I'm also sharing with you why tight hamstrings or shortened hamstrings also cause and can cause lower back pain. So, but first, let me give you a short excursion about what is flexibility. Flexibility is basically the ability to elongate our muscles, and through muscle elongation and stretching and healthy muscles elongation, we are able to move our joints in a full and natural range of motion. This means if our muscles are getting tight and shortened, whether due to our lifestyle of sitting a lot, or might be injuries, or it might be just moving less, right? Because we don't have the time or won't put that much time into stretching and working into flexibility, those muscles are getting tight. And the muscles are connective tissue. Our joints are surrounded by connective tissue, surrounded by muscles. So if the muscles are tight, yes, simply put, we can't move our joints in the natural range of motion. So, but we like to move our joints, not only because we want to move freely, but also to prevent injuries. So working into flexibility is crucial to keep our natural range of motion, to keep our body overall healthy. So you also might came across the myth, or maybe just asking yourself or telling yourself, there are people who are naturally flexible because you're seeing nice yoga poses, or even when it's not yoga poses, dances or so on, or maybe some people can just slay into flexibility. So, but there's not such natural flexibility, and also the thinking of it shouldn't prevent any of us to work into flexibility, because flexibility is something, if you don't use it, you lose it. So anyone who's not working into the flexibility over time, and it doesn't matter the age, will lose the ability of using the full range of muscle flexibility, and then also losing the full range of our natural range of motion of our joints. So when we are not using the flexibility and not working into flexibility, we will lose hydration in our tissues, in our connective tissue, in our muscles, and this will increase the tightening of the muscles. So there's always a point in time to start to work into flexibility, no matter what age you are. So this was a general overview of flexibility, and I'm teaching several flexibility techniques, and also have my ebook FLEX&FLOW into splits, and you can download the ebook. It's in the link, and I will share this later on in the comments when this is going up onto my feed. But this kind of basically an overview about the flexibility and why we want to work into it. Now coming to the point and the questions of many of us suffering with tight hamstrings and how this also restricts us in our daily life, because tight hamstrings, what does it do? I mean, we are bending over quite often during our daily activities, right? It's not only when we're doing any sports or any movement practices, it's actually really our daily life. And when our hamstrings are getting tight, this also leads to, over time, to lower back pain, because we are getting imbalances in our postures. So, in our posture. First of all, the hamstrings are originating in our sit bones, and then it goes all the way down to our knees. And the hamstrings are supporting the stabilization of our pelvis, our spine, but also to bend our knees and to extend our hips. And when, for example, our hamstrings are tight or shortened through sitting a lot, not using them that much, or not working into the flexibility, which is quite common, they can't support us in the full range, our pelvis, our spine, our spinal movements. So over time, this imbalance in posture, when we are, for example, bending over, right, our pelvis gets into a posterior tilt. So it's kind of rounding, simply put. And then our lower back, our lumbar spine is rounding. And through this and the tight hamstrings, which are pulling on our pelvis, it over time it works into lower back pain because of the imbalance of posture. So, and also when we are in this imbalance and rounding our lumbar spine when bending over, which should be more like a straight bending, it also causes, the imbalance causes stress on in our lower spine, lower back, in our lumbar spine, and on the pelvis. And it also causes stress in the muscles surrounding our pelvis, which are our stabilizers. And one of this is our quadratus lumborum. And when the quadratus lumborum is stressed and overworking because our lumbar spine is rounded, the job of the quadratus lumborum is to stabilize, but also bringing our spine into extension, right? And now it's working and working and working our flexed spine to get this into the healthy extension. So, and the overworking causes also pain in the lower back. This is kind of a brief overview on how hamstrings, tight hamstrings, and lower back pain are connected, right? And how tight hamstrings might cause lower back pain. I'm not talking about severe injuries or injuries in your lower back. For this, you always want to consult your doctor, your therapist, right? But it's I'm talking about how tight hamstrings are causing over time pain and imbalancing in postures. So the next common pain points in all of us, or many of us, are the hip flexors and especially the psoas. Our psoas tends to get tight and shortened due to our daily lifestyle of sitting a lot. So when the psoas are getting tight and we're sitting a lot, the psoas is actually, the job is, for example, when you want to stand up from a sitting posture, you want to stand up and then using the psoas, the hip flexor. This is the movement. And when the psoas are getting tight, your pelvis is tilting forward, and then it's getting this curvature of an anterior tilt, right? Which is not in the natural tilt or curvature of our spine. But also the hip flexors are made for walking, bending the knee, stabilizing also our hips and also our lower back. So the psoas also is connected with the job of the hamstrings. Our psoas can be tight, but it also and often is also weak. So that's why we also want to strengthening our psoas, because weak psoas brings an imbalance in the stability of our pelvis, and as it's connected, also the job connected with the hamstrings, it often shows in tight hamstrings, what we were talking before. This means the postural problem of a posterior tilt of our pelvis and the combination of tight hamstrings and weak hip flexors also causes lower back pain. So when we talk about working into the flexibility or stretching of our muscles in general, and explicitly into hamstrings and psoas, we also want to strengthen our muscles, right? As it's not only about stretching, we also want to strengthen, and that's why I gave the example of a tight psoas and weak psoas, right? So flexibility and stretching in general is a combination of elongating our muscles, stretching, flexibility in our muscles, and then creating strength in the opposing muscles. Our muscles are working together in groups. When one targeted area of muscles want to elongate, stretch, work into flexibility, the opposing muscle group needs to contract to give the targeted area the space to elongate, right? So it's always this combination of building strength and working into the flexibility. And that's also why I like to talk about the myth of yoga is only stretching and flexibility is only stretching and flexibility is only passive stretching. It isn't. It's the combination of active strength building, but also active stretching, which means we work into active flexibility with engaging our muscles. And there are several techniques. PNF is one of this. You work for a short amount of time, for 6 to 8 seconds, into contraction of the muscles. And then when you release all the tension, eventually, step by step, you can ease more deeply and more easy into flexibility. So as you notice, flexibility and health benefits, and why we want to work into flexibility, not only because of the fancy postures and easing into splits with no problems. It's not about this. It really is. Maybe it's a motivator, all those very inspirational, aspirational flexibility poses, but actually it's more about the journey, and it doesn't matter if you're not getting into splits now. It is really the journey there, and constant practice of stretching and working into flexibility, because as I said in the beginning, it's a use it or lose it. So when we're just working into flexibility or into stretching once a month, it won't do the trick, right? It won't bring us any relief in the pain points. Yeah, it's more about working into flexibility regularly. I would say 4 times a week, and it doesn't need to be like 60 minutes, right? It can be really short practices, 10 to 15 minutes, and very efficient practices I'm regularly sharing here on Instagram, and I'm also sharing in my ebook Flex&FLOW into Flexibility, where I'm talking about the 4 top stretching techniques and how this is put into fluid movements with Flex&FLOW training. So to wrap today's session up, the main health benefits are flexibility is crucial to keep your joints in a natural range of motion. It enables your muscles to work efficiently and healthy. It brings our body in a healthy posture. It regulates imbalances. It also helps in releasing and relieving back pain. Said this when you have conditions, severe conditions, injuries in your back, please always check back with your doctor, with your therapist. Yeah, I'm really talking in general here. Working into flexibility also improves our daily activities, like standing up, bending forward, moving with more pain-free movements, right? Because we are bending all the time during the day. It also helps to strengthen our muscles, to find all our strength, and elongating and natural moving of our body and feeling healthy in our body, which also helps when you're releasing the pain, which also helps us to feel ease in our mind, right? Because we all know when we feel pain, it's hard to feel into the ease in our thoughts and our mind. So I thank you for joining in today, and if you watching the replay of this, it's as always, I'm putting this on my feed, and hope you enjoyed today's session, and I see you next time.